Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, Do Politicians Practice What They Preach? In this video we're going to be looking at, are Republicans really Republican? Now, this series is brought to you by our new book, Are All Lives Equal? Why Cost-Benefit Analysis Values Rich Lives More, and How Philosophy Can Fix It. Stick around to the end to learn more. In the last video, we looked at the definition of republicanism. In this video, we're going to look at whether the U.S. Republican Party and American politicians that identify as Republicans are actually Republican and support philosophically Republican positions. Let's take a look. So, more than the positions that we have considered so far, modern Republicans have strayed farther from the original underpinnings of republicanism. While there are still some views that align philosophically, they are few and far between. We will look at some of the views where there is alignment, and then at the many places where this has become a label divorced from its underlying philosophy. Now, for a long time, Republicans have argued in favor of quote-unquote states' rights. In other words, the rights of individual states to set laws independently of the federal government. This has been a defense of restrictive voting laws, as well as laws banning abortions. The idea being that a single power setting these laws is anti-Republican, as it consolidates power instead of distributing it to lower levels of government. Checks and balances mean states should be free to make their own laws, and states should have a certain level of rights that the federal government cannot supersede. In this way, Republican support of states' rights has been Republican in a classical sense. However, even this Republican talking point has been eroded recently, with Republican administrations pushing to curb the rights of states like California to set their own emissions laws, or pushing for a federal abortion ban, policies that are diametrically opposed to the republicanism that they claim to support. This makes it seem that they care more about these specific policies than about republicanism as an ideology. Another area where U.S. Republicans present classically Republican views is with respect to military service. Republican politicians are generally strongly supportive of the military and military spending, encouraging civic participation through enlistment in the armed forces, and honoring veterans who have served. This is Republican in some ways because it honors public service and participation of citizens in government. However, this too has fallen out of favor, with Republicans cutting funding to Veterans Affairs, and with Trump deriding dead service members as losers and suckers. While some Republicans still support military funding, it's unclear if they all continue to support service members, which should be a key component of republicanism. Continuing on the theme of public service, Republican politicians have moved away from respect for civil servants and bureaucrats, with Trump complaining about the deep state and issuing executive orders attempting to strip civil servants of workplace freedoms that should protect them from political interference and cronyism. Instead of celebrating and supporting civil service as republicanism requires, U.S. Republicans deride it. Independent institutions are another key component of republicanism that U.S. Republican politicians have attempted to gut. Election commissions and secretaries of state surrounding the 2020 election are the clearest examples of this. The entire point of giving states power is to prevent a federally elected official from pressuring them to falsify results, to find votes, as Trump tried to in Georgia, or to lead a populist mob to overrun another branch of government. This kind of consolidation of power, an attempt by the executive to overtake the legislative branch of government, is exactly what independent branches of government and lower levels of government are intended to prevent from the Republican position. These actions of the Republican Party are exactly the actions that republicanism is attempting to prevent. A key aspect of republicanism is getting people to work together for a common good and not giving one particular interest group power over others. The U.S. Republican embrace of Christian nationalism and outright theocracy runs counter to this, with Republicans embracing specifically Christian position around abortion laws, gay rights, etc., at the expense of other groups. For a republic to work, it must work for everyone, and systems must require consensus by giving various interest groups checks and balances on each other. Even a communitarian society doesn't expect one community to impose its views on other communities, but rather only those within that cultural community. This trend towards nationalism and theocracy has dangerous implications for anyone that is outside of that group, and certainly is a departure from republicanism as an ideology of supporting a common republic with common goals. It should be noted that while this is the general trend of many in power in the Republican Party, it does not represent the views of all Republicans. There are still Republican politicians that respect institutions, that respect civil servants, and that advocate for the separations of powers. Unfortunately, the power of these individuals has been waning, and the people that call themselves Republicans today bear little resemblance to the policies to the original meaning of the word. There are many situations where the ideologies of politicians are divorced from their actions. One is with the politicians that claim that all lives are equal, but then endorse economic frameworks that explicitly say that some lives, they're worth actually tens or even hundreds of times more. To learn more about this and how philosophy can fix it, check out our new book, Are All Lives Equal?, out now in paperback on Amazon. If you want more about the book, check out the website. We have a couple of blogs. You can read the first chapter of the book if you're interested. Please do consider purchasing the book. It really helps out the channel. Now, so the answer to the question, are Republicans really Republican? Unlike the other questions where there's a little bit of yes, there's a little bit of no, is that they used to be, but they aren't really anymore. Even across all of these different dimensions, Republicans are moving away from the ideals of classical republicanism. This is all the more reason for you to research the actual positions of who you vote for, because there are some Republicans that do value institutions, that support civic participation in political action, that support checks and balances on government, that are true Republicanists. Small r Republicans. Just because someone calls themselves a Republican, though, it often means that they do not actually support the values of republicanism. What do you think? Are there other examples you can think of where so-called Republican politicians actually take positions that are opposed to the fundamental tenets of republicanism? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe, hit that notification bell if you like this video and you want to see more. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.